Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dope Black Women's Instagram Live. We are here, and I'm actually you. Well, you normally see me at a table or at a desk, um, to you. But today I am in my bed, and the reason that I'm in my bed is because hi Natasha,
Hi, Leanne.
so great.
Thank you.
So I was just telling the young ladies that, or not the young ladies, but the audience, that normally they'd see me like kind of in. Hi, Tony.
And
Hey,
Um, so
boy.
welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining.
uh,
I was just explaining to our audience that normally I'd be doing this Instagram live at a table in my bed, or in a formal space with like great lighting and everything. But I actually have my period, so I'm lying down in bed, and I have pillows behind my back, and I'm relaxing today. And something really interesting happened to me yesterday. Actually, someone came over to the house, a potential employee for my partner's business, and she kind of asked me to, she pulled me aside, and she said to me, she's going through, she has her period, which is kind of ironic since I also am on my period,
Yeah, you guys are sinking.
mhm.
without even knowing each other. And she said, do you have anything? And I said, actually, I only have tampons. And she had never seen or used a tampon in her entire life,
Oh gosh.
which is really really ironic, because today I'm actually really excited to talk to you guys about period poverty. So it's kind of all serendipitously happening and taking place that we're having a conversation today, considering what happened to me yesterday and considering that I'm now in bed with cramps. So I would like you ladies to introduce yourselves and tell us who you are so we can get straight into the conversation. A very important conversation, I think, not just for Jamaica, but globally. This is something that's an issue. So Natasha and Tony, welcome, and I will allow you to introduce yourselves.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Hi,
You
everyone.
go first.
I'm
Mhm.
Natasha Burnett, and I am currently the Deputy Director of Fundraising at the Rotaract Club of Kingston.
Hi, my name is Tony Moore Stewart, and I am the Director of Community Service with the Rotaract Club of Kingston.
So incidentally, Natasha and I also work together at the Caribbean Policy Research Institute. And so that's how I know Natasha, and we've become quite close at work. And so I'm really excited to have her share some of the work that she does outside of Capri, because, as a human being, she is immensely just giving and caring and insightful in many ways. So thank you guys for coming on. Um,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to share on your platform.
No, of course. I mean, as dope Black women, I think period poverty is something that's really important, and charity in general is something that's important to
Mhm.
ourselves. So tell us a little bit about Rotaract first. What is Rotaract for people who don't know, particularly for our UK audience and our diaspora audience? What is Rotaract?
Okay, so Rotaract is a non-governmental organization. We're also non-partisan, and it is for young adults 18 years and over, who are interested in, volunteering, giving back to society, but at the same time, letting the club that they are a part of work for them. So Rotaract believes wholeheartedly in the professional and personal development of its members, and that is one of the key things that separates us from any other volunteer organization that you might hear about. We wholeheartedly believe in 6 pillars, and that's what most of our projects are surrounded with or through or about. So we are passionate about basic education and literacy, water and sanitization,
Is it
um,
and
civic
treatment?
community and economic development, Yeah, so and then recently now, as of this year, we now added sustainable environment to our pillars, as well as we had before maternal and child health.
Amazing, amazing. And so I guess this falls under some of the gendered work that you're doing for Rotaract.
It does.
So
And a
what's
part of the project too, Diana, a part of the project too is that this initiative we would have started with St. Anthony's Girls Home from last year. So the Eliminate Period Poverty Drive is one aspect of the overarching project. Because last year we partnered with the Evermico Foundation and taught young ladies how to sew masks. And as a result of their newly acquired skills and through the kind donation of Surgical Foundation, we were able to acquire an industrial sewing machine for them. And so you see how it's feeding into the local and community business environment. And so from that, they received a contract from a local manufacturer in Jamaica, Brochure, to produce different aspects that goes into making a bag, a leather bag. And now we're having this initiative to continue to help them to grow and to develop as young. And when we talk about period poverty, like I want persons to know that it doesn't only affect you hygienically or it's a gendered issue, but it also affects your overall well-being and contribution to our economy.
So tell us exactly what is period poverty, because I think many people might have an idea, but they're not exactly sure what it means. It's kind of a buzzword that's thrown around a lot. So what is period poverty?
It's the inability for a female to have access to basic sanitary items, those that would have been critical for her overall menstrual health. So it's the inability, whether it is you don't have access based off funds, or it's just not available in the area that you are, or there's some limiting factor that is hindering you from accessing these items that are great for a woman's menstrual health.
So, I mean, globally, this is an issue, right? Natasha said me some interesting facts earlier, and apparently 800 million women menstruate for something like collectively 2,500 days for the year.
Equivalent to 7 years. Yeah. So imagine as a female, we have to endure, menstruating for 7 years of our whole entire life. So imagine having to cope with this, something that is so natural and so innate, and then not having the ability to treat it the way that you're supposed to, or to handle it in the most hygienic way possible.
So,
and Leanne, jumping in, that period poverty, it's more prevalent than most of us are aware. I remember when I first shared the flyer on my WhatsApp status about Rotaract Club of Kingston having a period poverty job. And one of my friends replied to me, and she was saying that in her community, because it's a lower income community and persons really don't have the resources to purchase sanitary napkins and other sanitary products, the girls and women have to be doubling underwear.
wow.
And when she told me, I was like, I don't even enjoy sitting in my own mess, and that's why I prefer tampon. So imagine not even having that choice because of lack of funds, financial constraints, and to be in the blood. It plunged into my heart. I knew that period poverty, but I knew the extremities of it here in Jamaica.
Well, I would say, there's a lot of stigma around menstruation generally, right? When you have your period, there are lots of stereotypes or kind of norms where, if a woman has her period, she shouldn't be at home, or she shouldn't be moving around, she shouldn't stay active. Which is crazy. And so actually having access to sanitary napkins, to tampons, to menstrual cups, to really help you to maintain a sense of equality, really, because you're able to look the same way that men would, and not allow your general God-given attributes to hinder your productivity or being able to go to like everybody else, right?
Exactly. As women, we have to take up space. So whatever it is that we need to do to ensure that our voices are heard and we are as productive as possible. We need to ensure that as a unit we can come together and support other women to ensure that, you know, period poverty doesn't at all harm you from carrying out your daily function. You're still able to do what it is that needs to get done.
And Natasha, you had, you know, some of the experiences that, or one of the experiences that you heard from some of your colleagues and friends. What is the situation in Jamaica around period poverty? Do we know how many women are suffering from period poverty? What are some of the experiences that you've heard when you've been carrying out this project?
Okay, so I have heard young girls at high schools, because they're not going into school physically, they don't have the support that they would get from guidance counselors, and as a result, not able to afford items. So it's not just about women in low-income communities, but also our girls. And Jamaica has a lot of high schools. So just imagine what segment of the high school population is suffering, has been suffering from March up until this point, because they literally can't afford a sanitary napkin, or they can't afford to purchase a tampon, or they cannot afford regularly as they need to. And so they're just exposing things, and they really don't even have a choice.
Wow. I mean, and do we know whether COVID has made this worse? Because we know that the impact of COVID certainly has had an impact on people's capacity to earn money, people's capacity to engage in schooling. Have we found that COVID has had an impact in terms of women's capacity to access sanitary products?
It most definitely has, and it connects back to what you would have said earlier, that, you know, with COVID, a lot of persons would have been unemployed, or the income to the household would have been cut, whether it is in half or however drastically it might have been. So you find that your overall spending power will become limited. So what you could use $1 to stretch and buy X amount of stuff, you're now probably only able to buy half of it. So something has to give. And sanitary napkins on a whole aren't the cheapest of items to purchase. And if a woman has to choose between buying food or buying a sanitary napkin, buying food to feed the family, she's most definitely going to choose the food to feed the family, you know, and she will do without, because as women, you know, we always try to say we can tough it out, we can endure these things, you know, we're also creative. So we try to find alternative means of, you know, finding an alternative to a sanitary napkin for it to try and do the job.
And go ahead, Natasha.
I was saying that irritates me. Sanitary products are not tax exempt. Like every time I go to the market and I have to pay taxes for sanitary products, like put on a piece of cussing. Like, okay, here we are, purchase these items, and here we are having to pay tax for these items, and I just don't know why this is our current situation.
Yeah.
The majority of our population are women, and the majority of women in this country, or persons with uterus, have periods, and that's just
exactly.
You know. So I think. Go ahead.
Right. I was gonna add to Natasha to say, it's not only that, you know, we have to endure paying taxes for these items, but it's like, I think corporate Jamaica hasn't been showing up where they should or where they're able to. Why not have some companies come out and say, okay, I will, you know, pay the tax on behalf of all women. So whatever sanitary items we carry in our store, it will be tax free for women. Or for them to say, okay, we will reduce it or we'll pay a certain percentage, you know, anything like that, we would highly appreciate, because a little does go a long way, you know. So it's like a charge we're trying to charge corporate Jamaica, or for persons to have some level of corporate responsibility to stand up and be like, hey, we stand against this. This is what we want to do. These are the ideas that we would have. Let us see how we can partner. Let us see how we can carry this to government and see what we can reach or what we can achieve through it.
Not even that, I also think it's really important to note that actually business places and restaurants, etc., could have or could provide access to sanitary products in their bathrooms,
yeah,
their storerooms. Nurses could be providing them at schools for kids.
Because they're why not provide sanitary
Yeah, there's no reason not, because as you pointed out, sanitary napkins and particularly tampons can be very expensive. And
Yes.
globally elsewhere, we see, again, this is based on some information that Natasha had sent me earlier. I didn't realize that Scotland was one of the first countries to say, hey, all feminine products are going to be free and are going to be available, made available to all women. And many countries around the world at this point in time either provide them that we've discussed or provide them at a discount cost, they're not taxed, etc. So it's really important for Jamaica to start to pick up the slack, as
Exactly.
I mean, Jamaican women are at the forefront of this. We have the most amount of women managers in the world, as we've discussed, even though we're not paid as much, which is a whole different
Different ball game.
Another
it goes hand in hand with childcare. It goes hand in hand with providing whatever it is that women to be as productive and successful, so that men, corporate organizations can't say, well, oh, she has her period, she has to go home, because then it's, it's used against us anyway, right?
Exactly. And I think the greatest thing about our project that we're trying to implement, which is Empowered to Sew period, we have a three-prong or three aims, main general aims for the project. So one is to increase public education, so that's to sensitize the public about what period poverty is, what it entails, how they can assist to alleviate it, statistics to let them know that, hey, this is a real thing here in Jamaica. So many women are faced with it. This is what you can do. Secondly, now we'd want to raise sanitary items to give towards the same St. Anthony Home for Girls that Natasha had mentioned earlier, because we have such a long-standing relationship with them. And three, we're challenging corporate Jamaica to match the donations that we would have received. And so far, we have gotten commitment from Facey Commodity in the form of their Libres brand. And we are just looking forward and opening and putting it out there into the world for other brands to come on board to support us in this worthy.
So tell us a little bit more about the project, because you mentioned that there are three kind of prongs to your agenda. So the first one is embracing or engaging people in building awareness around period poverty. And at this point in time, on that note, if anyone has any questions for Natasha and Tony, please ask, put your question in the comments, and we will definitely get them answered. Yeah, tell us about embracing this idea of a public camp. What are your plans? Obviously, you're here on Dope Black Women, and we're very happy to have you. What else do you have planned in terms of your awareness campaign?
So we'll be rolling out a social media campaign. We will have started where we're trying to have conversation so that we can try to reduce the stigma that is with normal function. We've also been platforms talking about the campaign Empowered to Flow period. Get persons to be aware of it, be aware of period and its prevalence. With them being aware of how real the situation is, they will come on board and then donate to the cause. So that segues into the second prong.
Before we get into the second prong, just a random question, really. I don't know if you have an answer to this, but what do you think is the reason for so many people having this like stigma around periods and menstruation, and really just not embracing this idea that it is just a natural, bodily function, and one that actually helps to bring forth life, and is actually a cleansing process for, it's quite the opposite of what it's purported to be. So it's kind of always thought about this nasty kind of disgusting thing. Nobody wants to talk about it. We all want to pretend like it doesn't happen. Why do you think that is the case?
I think it's still considered to be a taboo, and I think it's person's perceptions. And I think what we need to do in order to change it is to change person's perception, and our continuous, campaigns of sensitizing persons about it, so that everybody know that it is a natural bodily function. It is a part of the reproductive system for females. It helps in the essence of, creating life. It's something that should be embraced. It's something that when women go through it, we shouldn't be scorned, or there shouldn't be a stigma, surrounding us. It should be something that we're comforted on and embraced throughout that entire process. There's nothing about it that is yucky, as they would say, or unclean about it, or you should chastise and be boxed up for that 7 days or however long it is. It's something that, hey, we still have worth, we still have value. Our value doesn't diminish when we're on our menstrual.
So true. So true.
When you asked Leon, I was screaming socialization on the inside, and I thought Winston typed that in the chat. But I feel like
Winston, hi Winston.
I feel like we need to break that tradition, because from in the past we would have been told, whether by our grandparents, great parents, whatever, that when you're married, you should be kept to yourself because that is it is scornful, and I'm not suffering silently. This is a normal part of my bodily function, and whenever I am mentioned that a case in which I am not able to think, I may not be able to carry out all of the functions that I would because of biological on the inside, but I am still I'm still showing up and getting work done. So I hope that in our efforts to sensitize the public, we will be able to break that chain of socialization, or to force to help persons unlearn those behaviors and thoughts and attitudes towards menstruation.
Exactly.
So we have a few comments in the chat. Ashatani said, "My lovelies." Junior said, Junior said socialization, which is very true, as you just pointed out.
That's
question. So Tiffany said, how can we incorporate interact clubs or Rotaract clubs maybe that are already in several high schools across Jamaica? That's an interesting question. So is there a plan to make sure that you're engaging the other kind of Rotaract groups across the country?
It most definitely is. And as Rotaractors, we pride ourselves on our relationship that we have with our parent club, which is Rotarians, and then our sister club, which would be the Interactors. And as Rotaract, I know next year for our district, period poverty is going to be one of those projects that we have to, carry out. So it's like the trend is being taken on now. So more persons are able to become more sensitized about it, and more persons are aware of it. Because remember, our interactors would be the ones who would first, that's the age in which you would first initially start seeing your period. So it would be good to engage them and have those kind of conversations with them, kind of like a pre-conversation before they actually start to menstruate, and help them to sensitize them from their younger, so that the older they become, they're more, akin to it, and they're used to it, and they know that, hey, this is something that should be embraced. This is how we take care of it. This is how we take care of fellow women, just to embrace the whole entire process.
Amazing. So Deb says, hey, always up to something. Meggie Meg says, and have the conversation from early as well. Yes, I don't know, when you guys were growing up, have conversations with your parents about your period, or?
I had that conversation with my mom, but I think she gave me a much better conversation as opposed to like the guidance counselor would. But for some persons, they don't have that kind of relationship with their parents, So apart from, your immediate family, I think potentially our guidance counselor should become more equipped to be able to handle these situations and to have these kind of talks with these women, with these young girls from such an early stage. Because who else at school would they have this conversation with, separate and apart from their form teachers, who may or may not necessarily be equipped fully to hold these kind of conversations with the ladies? So I think getting our guidance counselors in on the program could be something that we can use to help to strengthen this and to let more persons be aware of the current issue that we're facing now.
Definitely, definitely. Ashatani said it's unfair on expensive products are priced, which is very true. Before I get into the next question, fun fact, I just looked this up. Apparently, there's been research that shows that when you're on your period, women are actually, well, smarter is a relative term, but what happens is that the size of your hippocampus actually increases, and actually responsible for controlling and creating new memories along with regulating mood and emotions. So in terms of our capacity to remember things, to get things done, women that are on their periods, contrary to popular belief, people,
it's heightened.
are actually
Exactly.
Or in function, and it might be functioning much better than we're used to while we're menstruating.
Exactly. I always find that I'm more productive then, because I always find myself that I'm in a mood and I'm in a zen and I'm in a zone and I just get work done. That's just how I always just tunnel vision and focus on everything else except for it, because I'm like, this is not going to hold me down and stop me from being great, you know?
Exactly. So tell us about the second of the project.
Okay, so oh, sorry, go Natasha, sorry.
So the second point would be to, after sensitizing the public about period poverty and introducing the campaign to them, it would be to get them to act or receive the knowledge so that they can donate. Currently, our location for sanitary napkins and other sanitary products is Melmac Dental Care, and they're located at 12 Melmac Avenue in Crossroads, Kingston, Jamaica. If you are outside of Jamaica and products, you can message our Instagram page at Kingston Rotaract Club, and we can sort out the final details.
Yes. So on that note about taking action, Green Health 360 actually has a question: how can we lobby for policy change, and especially with tax exemption? Is that something that Rotaract has considered? That might actually be a project for Capri.
That's what I was about to say.
We can work on that. We might have to engage Dan about that. But yeah, is that something that Rotaract has thought about? Do you know if there have been attempts to remove the taxes on period kind of sanitary products?
Well, I know us specifically as a Rotary Club, we have always been, doing big projects and executing big things, and we always believe in the sustainability of our projects. So that for us would be the next step in the notch, and the next step for us to look at would be how can we start to have these conversations with these policy changers, these policy makers? How can we let our voices be heard? Not just because we are young adults doesn't mean that we don't have a voice or we don't have an opinion or we shouldn't be heard. And I think once we're able to partner with those persons who can assist us with knocking on the right doors, RCOK, which is the Rotary Club of Kingston, we would never shy down or back away from having those kind of conversations and lobbying on behalf of so many women in our country who are affected by this period poverty.
Definitely. Tiffany Scarrett said, yes, my and gave me books. Parents find it difficult, especially with the age gap is greater. I was just going to say that's actually very true. I, having had older parents, I never really had that talk actually. And I think when I actually got my period for the first time, I literally thought I was dying. I was like, I'm bleeding to death. Somebody come and save me. And then my sister, fortunately, was at home. She's like, no, Leanne, relax. You're just having a period. And it's funny, I was probably 11, 12 at the time, and I had never had that discussion with a counselor, never had that discussion with my parents. So it's not something that we discuss often enough for it to be normal.
Leanne, I experienced a similar situation. So I think my period started when I was 11, and for whatever reason, I was at my grandma's house in the summer when it started. And I remember and blood, but in my mind, a whole list of other possibilities besides it being my period, because I was saying, I'm too young. And I remember calling my mother, and the relationship that I have with my mother, I label it as a very funny one because of both of our personalities. So it's like, Mommy, I am seeing blood, and like, it's a period, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, period. So just go and tell your aunt that your period started, and so that they can give you a sanitary napkin. And Leanne, for the life of me, I could not open and ask my aunt for a sanitary napkin because I was just terrified that this chose to happen to me at this point in time. Come on, life.
Yeah.
when I'm away from my mother. And so I remember, using a tissue in the bathroom, and my grandma was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Grandma, my belly like something that I eat," because I couldn't have the
Conversation with her. Oh gosh.
conversation. Because for whatever reason, I felt like I caused this to start earlier on myself, and so I would have done something wrong. And because I wasn't used to the many women who I grew up around having these conversations, I just never felt comfortable at age 11 to say, "Hello, my period started. Can you assist me with sanitary napkins? Can you talk me through the..." So I had to learn a lot of things on my own. And luckily, when I had returned after the summer break to my mother, I would talk to her and she explained at that point in time. But just getting up to have a conversation, I wasn't in that environment. And that's something that I'm definitely keen on us breaking, that's especially with the interactors. Let them know that it's a normal conversation to have. Just like how you talk about ice cream.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I think even us having this conversation on this platform is something that we've never done before, you know, and I think it's something that you don't often see. So I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. And imagine, now that we're having a conversation and we're kind of reflecting on our personal experiences, I can only imagine what it must be like for someone who doesn't have access to sanitary napkins. So the first time you're having a period, you don't feel comfortable talking about it. And then when you do muster up the courage or the energy to even say, "Hey, this is what I need." And I can imagine a mother having to say to their child or their niece or, you know, their daughter friend, like, "I can't help you." You know, and what does that person do? They use tissue, or they double up on their underwear, or they reusable cloths if that's something that they even have access to at this point in time. And so it's really important that we continue to have discussions, and people really do recognize the impact of having, not just on women, as we pointed out, and their productivity in the workplace and just as beings, but also just young girls who are experiencing this for the first time, right?
Exactly. And I think to add to what we've been saying about ways in which we can assist to sensitize the public, I think now we're living in a technological age. And I think that's one of the greatest way for us to get access to our youth. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has access to the internet. Everybody has some electronic device. What creative ways can we come up with to, sensitize this younger or this target market through those things, So whether it is like having like a TV series, having a YouTube series, having a game, something like that to, catch the younger audience. So it's not seen so much of a taboo thing, so that when they do actually start to menstruate, they kind of have a general idea as what it entails, what they need to get, who they should probably speak to, who they should reach out to, So it's not like they're left foreign and they have no clue what to do or no idea of how to function.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think two ideas just came to mind. One is that you guys should do period monologues, kind of like the vagina monologues, but discussing period
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. And then secondly, really just maybe, I don't know, there's so many things that we talk about as adults that really have to, and I just wonder if there's a more digestible way, like a comic book, a child-friendly comic book that
Right.
period poverty or explains what menstruation is, and really just engaging with young people in a way that's digestible to them. Debs says the assumption that we're more emotional when we're menstruating is wrong. Yes, it is, boo. It is. Sherlock Glow 8 says woman in spectacles, which is, I didn't really notice that. Amanda Perry says, indeed, some persons aren't aware of such misfortune. We really need to educate the public. And Melmac Dental Care says the donations have been coming in. Let's keep it up. So I assume that Melmac Dental Care is one of the organizations that you're working with.
Yes, they are our main drop-off site. So we do majority of our collection there, or persons can either message our Instagram page, like Natasha would have stated earlier on, or if they know a member of the Rotaract Club of Kingston, just reach out to us and we will organize pickup. We accept both physical donation as well as monetary. We will purchase the items on your behalf and send you a picture so you know that this was purchased with your funds. This is how many items we're able to get. Send you a nice like a thank you card, help us to get the process along the way.
And then the third part of the project is really the donations, right? Which is what we've been doing.
Well, not only just the donation, but for corporate Jamaica to match what we are able to raise on our own. Right. So our aim is to raise up to 1,000 sanitary items. We want to raise more than that. We definitely want to, and we would love if a corporate entity can come to us and say, hey, I match you guys 100% what you guys receive or donations you have obtained. We match it, or even if it would be great if they can say we match it and some.
Yes,
just because we love the initiative and we wholeheartedly believe in it and know that there are lots of women that can, benefit from it.
And that's why we're really grateful to Face the Commodity through their press brand for coming to say that, yes, they will match our donation. So if other corporate entities can do the same, we will be super appreciative of it. And the young women and girls of the products will be even more grateful.
Yeah. Tiffany said, I think education campaigns with Interact clubs would allow early penetration of high school populations on this issue. Green Health 360 said, my mom sat my brother and I down for this conversation. We knew what napkins to buy. We marked a calendar together and we got Skittles and fries when the time came. Yo, big up to your mother.
I
know. That's amazing. And the fact that she indicated that not just you, but your brother as well, because as we just discussed, and we think of it as a gendered issue, but it's really not, especially as we continue to learn more about gender identity and sexual orientation. I think it or more of a topic for us to discuss and share across all persons, not women, but also men. And also for men, to normalize it for men so that they become used to the idea, so they're not scornful, they're not kind of reiterating or regenerating these norms that kind of stigmatize women about these ideas. Have you guys had a lot of interaction with men about this conversation about period poverty?
We have, and we have specifically started with holding it from the males within our club. And we are so surprised that they're actually getting in on the campaign, whether it is that they're posting the flyers, they're actually purchasing donations on their own, or they're asking, a female in their household to do the purchase. But then we're just so glad about the polls that we're getting within our club that it helps us to know further going on and having these discussions with men that we see on the road or anybody, different that we see, not just persons that we are aware of or we're familiar with. Amazing. And I think once we start to have these conversations, men are actually open to, listen, and you're able to educate them more, and they're more sensitized to it, so know that they will do what they're supposed to do if it is that their mother is going through it or their spouse is going through it, how they can be of support or of comfort through that entire period.
Yeah. Green Health 360 actually made a good point. I'm loving Green Health 360 today. Whoever you are, you're amazing. She said, I'm assuming she said my brother and I. Could we also encourage the introduction of reusable menstrual cups? They're affordable, safe, hold more blood than pads or tampons, and are better for the environment than pads and tampons, which is something that I know very little about menstrual cups. Is that something that is becoming more popular, do you feel like, as time moves on? Have you had any menstrual cup donations?
No, this is still new to me in terms of using my menstrual cup. And in terms of donations, I don't think we've received any menstrual cups, at least not as yet.
Not as yet. To come. Let's speak it into being.
Right.
It will definitely come. It will definitely come. And so for people who are interested in donating, tell them, especially for our diaspora community, really hoping our diaspora community will repost this on our page in our stories after we finish this conversation. So I'm really hoping that the diaspora will pick up and all of our dope Black women will donate and contribute to this very worthy cause. Tell us a little bit more about how people can donate, how they can get in touch about more information.
Okay, so like Natasha stated earlier, they can message us on our Instagram page, which is the Rotaract Club of Kingston, and our PR director, I'm certain, will get back to them, whether it is provide them with our accounting details or we work out the finer details as to how it is that your donation and your support can be used and will be utilized to help us in the furthering of this particular project. Outside of diaspora, and if you're here in Jamaica, like we stated prior, the main drop-off point is Melmac Dental, and that is located on Melmac Avenue in Crossroad. And you can also reach out back to our Instagram page. Wherever you are in Jamaica, we'll work something out just to ensure that we can get the items in. And the drive actually ends the 7th of May. So this is almost like I want to say our almost final push, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and we're so excited about it. And it's probably something that we're probably going to want to take on again for next year, and to continue to let it be a sustainable project so that more persons are aware of it.
And if you will send it to kingstonrotaract@gmail.com.
Perfect, perfect. And for those, sorry. Oh, Melmac Dental Care says we have a few far. And just to clarify, so you are accepting donations of money as well as actual, yes?
Yes.
Right. So actual products, so sanitary napkins, tampons, menstrual cups, feminine wash, anything that can assist a woman in her menstrual health, we are accepting.
Amazing, amazing. I think this is such a great initiative. We are so happy to support, and we'll certainly be sharing it across all of our socials, but also in WhatsApp groups, and really trying to get across the diaspora to donate and to participate. And I hope, more organizations come on board to make sure that, they can match your offer and really just create a sustainable flow of provision of products for, or, as you said, in homes or in high schools. Because it really is not that much of an extension of corporate entities to become involved in something that is a charitable cause that contributes to the betterment of the society. Because as we've mentioned, women run the world, and we run.
We do. We do. Not to be biased or anything, but we do.
No, I don't think it's bad. I mean, it constitutes a greater number of people in this country. We are, definitely at the top of tertiary education. And, I think I don't want to make it like a male bashing scenario, because it's certainly not about that. We want our men to become involved. We want to engage in conversation with them, and we want them to contribute as we can, as much as we contribute to them, right? It's a two-way street.
Definitely.
Melmac Dental, can't wait to see how it takes off. Counting down to your presidency. The birthers of nations. Yeah, that is right. Birthers of nations. I like that. So as birthers of nations, please support the Rotaract Period Poverty Drive, because without your support and without your acknowledgement of period poverty, we cannot continue to birth the nations that come up in front of us.
Exactly.
Period.
So, period. Yes, exactly. So, Natasha and Tony, before you go, tell us a little bit what Rotaract has planned. Once you've done the project with Alpha, is this something you mentioned that you might continue on an annual basis? Are there any other projects that you plan to promote that are related to this? You plan to extend this to other homes?
Our main focus now is just to work with St. Anthony's Children's Home, Girls' Home. We basically have adopted them. So throughout the years, we always execute projects with them. But I think the success of this one is definitely on the horizon and something that we can see. So why not extend it to others? You know, this was almost like our pilot project or a guinea pig,
Yeah.
and we are so grateful for the overwhelming support that we have received thus far. And we know that if we continue on this same wavelength, we'll be able to reach and to help far more women and far more young ladies.
And it may very well become paper projects of the Rotaract Club.
Well, I hope so. If there is anything that Black women can do to support the project further, please let us know. We are happy to be involved. I will definitely push this on our WhatsApp
Thank you.
or that
Yes.
we are getting
Thank
donations
you very much.
wherever we can. And thank you for initiating the project and just for being dope Black women. On that note, what I'd like to end our lives is ask our guests what makes them a dope Black woman. So Tony and Natasha, what makes you a dope Black woman?
Can we cue
What's our
click and play?
Yeah, that's what makes us dope. But you can go first, Natasha.
For me, it's my go-getter mentality. Winston will tell you that I fight like the Maroon. And
yes?
just over positive outlook on life. I will be burning sage, practicing meditating, and drinking my tea, moisturizing everyone to
Drinking
have
your water and minding your business.
my own business. Those are the characteristics that make me a dope Black woman.
Amazing. I can definitely has her affirmations on her desk. Always gets up every morning at 5, what o'clock in the morning, start working out, which was
Yes,
so
exactly.
what makes
I
you a dope?
think for me, what makes me dope is my big heart. I think I probably have one of the biggest heart ever, and I constantly wear my heart on the sleeve, and I rather to do without to allow others to have. I am probably one of the most caring persons ever. I'm the one that's going to always say, "Hey, how are you?" Pick up the call, pick up the phone, and say, "Have you eaten today? Did you take your medication?" You know, just to check up on persons. That's probably one of the biggest thing that makes me dope. My loving and caring spirit. I am also a hard worker. Some persons call me a workaholic. I think with our group, I'm probably called like superwoman. No matter what obstacles I'm faced with, people always wonder, so how did Tony find time to do this? And how was she able to accomplish, you know? But for me, it's my determination. And once I decide that I'm going to do something, there's nothing that's going to stop me from achieving it. And yeah, and I just love to see women on a whole do well, and I think that's probably one of the things that makes me dope. Someone's beauty doesn't mean that you yourself lacks beauty, or someone's success doesn't mean that your success will never reach. You know, and I'm always that person to encourage someone and to be like, "You go, girl, you got this." You know, I'm probably like human supplement.
And
Human supplement, yeah. Yeah, you do good, good will come back to you, and you helping somebody or boosting somebody else doesn't mean that, hey, you won't actually achieve what you're doing. You know, allow persons to rise and shine when it's their particular moment.
You know what I love about that answer, and I have to say this, I would like wrap it up neatly, but I think this is really important to say. One of the reasons that we ask women this question is because so often when we are great and when we are dope, we're taught to be humble. We have to be modest about it. We have to be demure. And there is absolutely wrong. And it is so important to take stock and be cognizant and be proud of what makes you dope. And to keep shouting that from the mountaintops or Instagram lives or wherever we are. Because it's important for that, not just for self-affirmation, but it's important for young girls and women to be able to see that other women are proud of themselves. And it's okay to be proud of yourself. It's okay to be encouraging. It's okay to, as you said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I talk about myself and love myself and be proud of myself about those attributes without stealing somebody else's shine or without throwing shade at somebody else. You know, be, as
Exactly.
Ashatani said, be loud and proud. And I think I'm so grateful and so proud that both of you said what you said about being a Black woman, because those are things you should be, you know, and you should speak about them. And we need to disrupt this narrative that women are expected to be, as I said, demure and very
Exactly.
quiet. And because men are allowed to show how dope they are and how and what they've done and what car they just bought and that and whatever, and we deserve the same opportunities. So thank you so
Exactly.
everybody.
Thank you so much for having us.
No, of course. Please go out and support Rotaract. Please support the poverty period poverty. Check out their page. Make sure that you go support, email them, slide into their DM.
Yes.
If you're not sure, get to Black women and we'll put you in touch with them. And so thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your night now. Bye.
Bye, everyone.